Rob, let's switch quickly to the NBA. And we've been talking about Deion Sanders, and most people, or well, at least it seems most media, I should say, is been very complimentary of Deion and the work he's done. Obviously, he's got some haters. But JJ Redick has taken a little bit of issue with Deion because of a recent talk he had with the Philadephia 76ers. Now, remember, Rob, Philadelphia, in an interesting move, Nick Nurse, the new coach, has them doing their training camp in Colorado. All right, he wants them near the champions, the Denver Nuggets. He wants them breathing that thin air. So if they have to face them in the finals, it's not going to last for 82 games, but, they've been there. They felt it. A little interesting. I don't mind it psychologically, but nice little psychological move. But since he's in Colorado, of course, he brought in Deion Sanders to talk to the team. And Deion apparently brought his camera crew to film the entire talk. And then they put it on social media, Rob G. Summarize the situation.
Yeah, you had it right. He came in, spoke to the team. It looked like it was almost like a breakfast or a brunch at a hotel. And he's at a nice fireplace. He's chopping it up. And sure enough, as Deion is known to do, he is the focus of at least one documentary, but he has another one separately that's done by his own. His son is like a multimedia person. So recorded the whole thing, the whole speech, put it up. Nothing really spicy came out of what he said. However, JJ Redick saw that it was going viral on social media and tweeted this out. I grew up in the NBA. The teams I was on, we had plenty of motivational speakers. Some of them I really took a lot from, and a few were impactful for our team. None of those talks were recorded and then posted to social media. What are we doing now? Is the locker room not sacred?
JJ Redick, stop it! I mean, look, I get the sanctity of the locker room, and that should be protected, Rob. When you were your teammates, even at the lower levels I played, high school, Division III, the locker room's fun, man. The smack talking, the junk talking. I mean, it's just, and then even, the way the coaches talk to you, the players talking to each other, like it's a lot of great stuff. And to be honest, a lot of stuff goes on that, people out of context, just, in society, so to speak, people would be mad about. But that's the sanctity of the locker room we're talking about. So I hear JJ on that. But this situation, I think he's going a bit overboard because, Rob, first of all, if the Sixers were just like, you know what? Nah, Deion, we can't have you filming it. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm not sure, Rob, Deion Sanders wouldn't have been like, all right, cool. Deion does love talking to athletes. These aren't young men. These are professional players and stuff. But I personally I feel like he'd get a kick out of talking to some basketball players and sharing his wisdom with them. And if they were like, we don't want it filmed, it's just private, I'm guessing he would have done it. I can't say I know for a fact. That's number one. So the Sixers didn't have a problem with it, obviously. Two, Rob, we see during NBA games nowadays that they will have little snippets of the coach's speech to the team sometimes, halftime or whatever. Then we see them in the huddles. We see players and coaches mic'd during games. So I'm just saying, you can't, this is almost like saying, oh, I don't like players wearing jeans to games, and look at them wearing sweatsuits to games now. What about the dress code when the coaches now are wearing polo shirts and sweatpants and sneakers on the sidelines? I mean, you can't say I want to protect the sanctity of the locker room when you don't say anything else about all this other locker room invasion, so to speak, that is going on at the hands of the NBA. So I hear him about, I like the sanctity of the locker room, but I think in this case, he's way off. And I also think, Rob, quickly, Deion doesn't curse. We know, with the bull junk and, all that stuff, darn and stuff that he says. So he's not worried. A lot of times a guy might say, don't tape what I'm saying, because they're going to be cursing. They're going to use off-color language, whatever. And Deion's like, yo, I'm just going, I'm not worried about any of that. And so I think that, obviously he wants to promote it and show it and stuff, but I think that's a factor for him too.
Yeah, I just think JJ is once again way off from the standpoint of everybody, Chris, runs their locker room differently. It ain't the same. There are some locker rooms and some guys who would say, turn the camera off. We don't want it on. They would.
Yep.
And other guys don't care. When I covered baseball in the 90s, Chris, you were an opposing player, you better not come in our clubhouse. Better not. They would fight you, Chris. They would, and then other clubhouses, they don't care.
Right.
Your buddy come over, dap you up, give you a jersey. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just everybody's different. And if the 76ers didn't want it, trust me, it wouldn't have happened. Even though it wasn't the locker room, right? You said it was like it was in a. Do you see what I'm saying? Like
lounge or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it was, they would have said, Deion, no, they would have told him up front. No, we don't want this out. We don't want this on video. And everything's on video. This is the same guy, JJ Redick, Chris. After the Lakers started, 0-5, and they got blown out after a game or something, told us to forget about the season and just salute LeBron all year. Remember that? Hello, JJ.
I forgot about that.
JJ, guess what? The Lakers went to the Western Conference Finals. And you told us to forget about the season after 5 games. Come on, dude. I know you played. I got respect for that. But come on with some of this.
Yeah.
Stop.
And a lot of times, Rob, it might even be like I said, kind of the speaker doesn't want it filmed. But he didn't care in this case. In fact, he wanted it filmed. And so I even think if the players were given the choice, even, they would want to hear Deion even if it's filmed, And also they're getting players are more and more comfortable, of course, in front of the camera nowadays. Everything is filmed. Everything is taped. So I think that's a difference too, Rob. Like these guys are used to that. I'm surprised to hear this from JJ. I really am. Maybe I shouldn't be kind of as you're saying, Rob, but I'm a little surprised that this was a hill he wanted to die on because it really wasn't that big of a deal. And like you said, if the Sixers had really been up in arms about it, they just either don't have Deion or tell him you can't bring the cameras in.
Chris, there wouldn't have been on. I believe that. If the stars on the team say, come on, no video. This is us.
Right.
Right. We don't want nobody else to be in on what we're doing. It's that simple. Takes one guy to object, right? One star to say, nah, let's do this. This is just for us. This ain't for everybody else.
Rob G, so far, so good with James Harden, right? I mean, he hasn't made any noise.
No, nothing yet. But be patient, Chris. We got
it's
plenty
only
of time.
day 3 or whatever.
Plenty of time for him to break out the fat suit, put a cell phone in his pocket. We never know.
Remember against when he was with the Rockets, Rob, he was playing great the first few games. That year he demanded the trade. I think he had 44 one game or something like that.
And then he came out with the fat suit on, like Rob G's talking about. And it's true. I'll never forget that. I was like, look how fat he is. You remember? Chris, you remember that?
Yeah. How do you see this playing out, Rob, with Harden?
I don't think they're trading him.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, they may not. If they don't, the Clippers have thrown out a few offers, but nothing that is whetting the appetite, so to speak, of the Sixers. And Daryl Morey won't trade him if he doesn't get what he thinks is, a good deal. Right. He won't. And Rob, look, James Harden, first of all, has made some bad decisions. He just has. It's his choice. But, I mean, he's just made some bad, just financial decisions. I mean, remember, Rob G, I don't know if you know the number, but the Nets were offering him some huge contract extension, over $100 million, if I'm not mistaken. And he turned that down, and then of course demanded the trade, and now's never gotten that money back. And that's one of the things he's upset about. Just that he didn't have that money back, but then he gave the Sixers $14 million last year. Now doesn't get that money back. So I get.
Yeah,
him
but
being
this
upset.
is him. But this is his own doing.
These are his decisions. And Morey, he made. I don't know. Look, the NBA investigated. They said they didn't find that they made a handshake, wink, wink agreement or whatever. But I get that he's upset, right? But Rob, he just doesn't have a choice. If he wants his basketball career to continue past this season, and I mean that, like, I don't know that as good as he is still, the teams with major cap room next year are not going to be good teams. We're talking about Orlando, San Antonio. They got the young kid from France, Wembanyama, and, a few other young teams. Utah, I think, will have some money, but teams that are not going to want James Harden. And a team that's close, they might want to bring him in as more of a role player or, nobody's going to be able to pay him huge money. And if they want him at all, he's going to have a good attitude. They're going to have to be like, look, we don't want him breaking up our chemistry or messing up our locker room. So, Rob, the best thing for him to do is just go out and play the best ball he can with the Sixers. Because they do. If he balls out and Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, they got good role players, they actually are legit contenders. I don't think they win the East, but they're legit contenders. And that's the best thing for him to do to continue his career and keep his reputation and image and our memories of him as a great player more than just a malcontent who started demanding all these trades late in his career. All right,